Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book, book 2, chapter 7, return to the physical world. We are going to start today on union of body and soul, and abortion is also covered there. I don't think we're going to get there today, but maybe we will. I don't know. So I'll ask Philip to read for us.
344. When does the soul unite with the body? This union begins at conception, but it is only completed at birth. From the moment of conception, the spirit assigned to inhabit a specific body joins the body by a fluidic link, which will increasingly tighten up to the moment of birth. The cry produced by the infant announces that it has entered the number of the living and the servants of God.
So here, the spirits are very, very clear that the soul unites with the body at conception. When the fertilization happens, the spirit is attached to the new physical body that is beginning to be formed. But it's only fully completed at birth, meaning, of course, when a spirit re-enters the world, is fully reincarnated when it's born. For that, it's being formed. The new physical body is being formed. The spirit is already attached to the new physical body being formed, but it's still not fully integrated to the new physical body because the perispirit is losing its form. That's a process that also happens as we prepare to reincarnate, and the new physical body is being formed in the mother, the uterus of the mother. Okay, and so the important concept here: this union begins at conception. If you ask anyone asks how Spiritism views the conception and when there is a spirit connected to a new physical body, starts at the moment of conception. And that's the very important definition that Spiritism, the spirits give to us. Again, this was written in 1857. Today, science has advanced a lot in recognizing the development of the fetus inside the womb, but that at that time wasn't, science knew very little, but so the information that the spirits gave at that time could only be interpreted according to the knowledge of the time. Today we know more about the whole process of pregnancy and the development of the fetus. André Luiz also developed the concept in the books of his collection. You will find in this book that we are going to start next month, Action and Reaction. It talks about it. Also, it talks about it in the book, The Missionaries of the Light, when we have the reincarnation of Sigismundo, describes in very specific details how everything happens. And other spiritist works, we are going to find more information. But again, nothing that changed what the information the spirits gave to Kardec at the time of the codification. Okay?
345. Is the union between the spirit and the body conclusive from the moment of conception? Could the spirit, during the initial period of that union, abandon the body that has been assigned to it? The union is conclusive in the sense that no other spirit could replace the one to whom the body has been assigned. But As the link that binds the body and the soul is very weak at first, it can easily be broken and severed by a spirit who abandons the trial it had chosen. When this happens, the child does not live.
Okay, there is a very important concept here also. When the Spirit tells us the union is conclusive in the sense that no other spirit could replace the one to whom the body has been assigned, meaning once the development of the fetus, when the conception starts, there is one spirit connected to it and only one. It cannot be replaced. Of course, when I say only one, you can have twins, more than one. But again, they cannot be replaced. And I remember when I moved here to the US, there was this lady that was pregnant, and she was 2 months pregnant when she lost her 2-year-old son that he drowned in a pool. And she, of course, she was pretty desperate, and she went to a psychic, and the psychic told her that the 2-year-old son was the one that was going to be reborn in her pregnancy. That was going to be the one coming back. And of course, she was very happy. And when she told us, of course, we didn't say anything. We don't want to, to cause pain to her if she's happy with the explanation. But it is not possible. Once if you ask me, if someone loses a child, a young child, and gets pregnant right after, can it be the same spirit? Yes, it can. Rarely, but it can. But if the pregnancy is already started, then it cannot. And they go here, the spirits also explain to us that the link that connects the body and the soul is very weak at first. So, and we discussed this last week. So can the spirit give up? Yes, it can. It causes normally a miscarriage. The child does not live, causes a miscarriage. That's when the spirit abandons the physical body that is being formed. There are consequences for the spirit that we're going to see in the next questions. But so here, the important concept for us to remember is once someone is pregnant, there is a spirit attached to the new physical body that is being formed, and it cannot be replaced. Okay?
346. What happens to a spirit if the body it has chosen dies before birth? It chooses another. What is the purpose of premature deaths? Such deaths are most frequently caused by the imperfections of matter.
So here is it's talking about the pregnancy being interrupted by natural causes. Okay. So miscarriages, the body that is connected, if the spirits connect to a pregnancy that does not go to full term, of course the spirit will have to choose another, and it can be in the same mother. We heard a case many years ago of a friend. She was pregnant and she lost her, it was the first child she lost when the child was 8 months old. The pregnancy was eight months and she lost the baby. And then she got pregnant again, more or less 1 year later. And she was told by someone that it was the same spirit coming back. She was happy to know. We can only say that it's possible. It doesn't happen always, but it can happen. It makes sense because it's the problem that it happened on the first pregnancy is an expiation for both the parents and the child. But if the expiation is resolved, they had to go through the experience and they have a new opportunity, then everything will be better in the second time. We just finished the book Between Heaven and Earth, and we follow the case of little Julio, right? Who died when drowning when he was 8 years old, was born again, and died when he was 2 years old, and then he was born again by the end of the book. And they said that he would be able to live a healthy life, meaning he went through the expiations that he had to go through in 2 deaths at young age, and then he was ready to come back and live his full life. So it's important for us to understand that reincarnation is a natural process. If we have to reincarnate, we'll reincarnate. If one body that something happens to the body that is being formed and we are not able to reincarnate, we will be provided another, maybe in a different family, maybe in the same family. When Kardec asks of the purpose of premature deaths, we have to remember that at the time of Kardec, it was much more common, right? The death of the mother and the death of the interruption of pregnancy for natural causes was much more common because we didn't have the advancements of medicine that we have today. It still happens today. Imagine 200 years ago, right? And the answer from the spirits is these deaths are caused by imperfections of matter. So, there are problems with the formation of the fetus, the problems with the mother, many other things that can cause these interruptions to happen. But the spirits are telling us here that, of course, the spirits going through the experience have to go through it. It's part of the process of learning and growing and the trials and expiations, but the matter, our physical instrument, the defective physical instrument can cause these premature deaths, okay?
347.
Just a second.
I think the word matter is placed there very objectively. I think the spirits want to make sure that matter could be the physical body being formed, the very spirit that is going to form that body. They may not be able to form a viable body. Matter could be the reproductive system of the mother as well. There's many possibilities there. And I think that's why the spirits chose the word matter, including the perispirit that was going to form a new body that probably wasn't able to make a viable body.
347.
Yes.
Can a spirit derive any benefit from incarnating a body that dies a few days after birth? The new being's cognizance of its life is so barely developed that its death is of little importance. As we have told you, such deaths are often intended as a trial for the parents.
So when parents lose a child right after birth, and here he's talking about dies a few days after birth, there is a spirit connected to that physical body, otherwise the body would not be born. But it dies a few days after. The spirit was barely connected because the process of connecting through the pregnancy, it's not a tight connection. So for the spirit, what happens to the spirit? It goes back to the previous form it had. So it's different than a child that goes back to the spiritual world when it's already self-aware of its new existence. A few days after birth, you are not self-aware of your new existence, so you go back to your form that you had before the pregnancy started before the conception. That's the first thing. And of course, it's an expiation for the spirit because he had to go through, but it's much more for the parents that go through the pregnancy, go through the pain of losing a child that is born and then dies a few days after. So these are, for the parents, consequences for what actions they have taken in the past, maybe in the present incarnation, most likely in previous incarnations, that that made them go through these experiences that are very painful. Okay.
$348.
Just a sec, Danny.
I don't know if the question will come up, but I've seen several cases in which they're twins, the pregnancy has twins, and one dies. Does it change? Is kind of the same kind of rule or normal thing to happen, like in this case, or when they're twins and one doesn't survive, it involves something else because of they were twins?
Yes, it does involve something else because there is a reason why one survived and the other not. Why did they go through the experience? It is said that when this happens, the one that survives always carry some type of unconscious guilty because they survived and the other did not. So these are all part of very likely expiations from problems that they had. They had to go through the pregnancy together because for some reason they had to share the womb of the mothers to maybe to learn to love each other, or maybe to learn not to hate each other. But of course, for the one that returned to the spiritual world, there was a reason for he or she to come and have this short experience. For the one that survived, there is also a reason based on the past, because nothing happens. This is not the type of thing that happens by chance. It happens because there is a necessity of this happening. But again, each case is a separate case, and we cannot even say that all the cases are expiation. It can be trials for the parents to learn, for the spirit to learn, the surviving one, the one that went back to the spiritual world, many different things. But yes, it has to do with both of them, with each other and with the parents or one of the parents, very likely, right? Okay.
348. Does the spirit know beforehand that the body it chose has no chance of living? Sometimes, but if it chooses it on this account, it is because of fear of the trial it foresees.
So here, the question that this Kardec asks the spirits is that if a spirit knows that a body that is being formed has no chance of surviving, first, the spirit needs to know that it's in the process of reincarnating. Second, it needs to be participating in the process of reincarnation, in the sense of choosing what it has to go through. If what the spirit says, if the spirit does all of these and then and chooses a body that is not going to survive, maybe because they don't want to come into the new incarnation, it can happen, but in my opinion, it would be very rare, because I don't see a spirit choosing a body that has no chance of living unless it has a specific purpose, and it knows the specific purpose of the atonement, or because you have to go through this experience, you own some months of life from a previous life, something like that. But a fear of the trial, choosing a body that has no chance of living because of fear of the trial, for me, it will be the exception of the exception. I don't know if... yeah.
I think the spirit is evolved at a minimum to be able to participate in that plan and everything that's going on. Seems to me a spirit that is very much willing to go whatever trial is necessary for its betterment. So I don't think it's less likely to be fear of the trial, in my opinion. I think it's a spirit that knows something, know enough to go through the experience.
Yeah. But of course, as the spirit tells us here, it's because it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And the possibilities are so vast, right? The probabilities are so numerous. Would be a very high order spirit that just need that very minimal contacted matter to complete something they need to complete.
Yeah.
Could be as well.
Yeah, it could be for the parents, right?
Would be only for the parents,
Yeah.
of course.
Out of love for the parents, right? The spirit chooses to come to
Yeah. It doesn't really need to come in, or just need those few months to come in, but the parents need to go through that trial and they help them out.
yeah. Okay.
349. When a spirit has failed to enter a planned incarnation, is another existence available for it immediately? Not always immediately. The spirit needs time to make new choices unless an instant reincarnation had been previously decided.
Yes. We have 3 times more spirits in the spiritual world than incarnated here, right? For planet Earth. So there are no availability on demand. Whenever we want, there is availability. So if a planned incarnation fails, unless it is part of a plan that the spirit, like Julio, we just read in Between Heaven and Earth, that he was going to come back to the same mother. He had to go through the 2-year period and die again and then come back again, which is what they say here, an instant reincarnation, having previously decided. If it's not that, then it needs time for the spirit to make the new choices, to find the proper parents, everything that needs to fall into place for a new reincarnation to take place. Again, there are always spirits waiting for this opportunity to reincarnate and not finding availability, more than spirits afraid of reincarnating and being forced to reincarnate. Okay.
350.
Yes, please.
Does a spirit ever regret its choice when it is being connected to the infant body and it is too late to turn back out? If you're asking whether it complains of the life it has to suffer and whether it wishes it were otherwise, like the way many human beings do, then yes. If you ask whether it regrets its choice, then no. Remember that the spirit does not recall the choice it made. Once incarnated, a spirit cannot regret a choice that it is not conscious of having made. It may find the burden it assumed too heavy and turn to suicide if it is too much for it to bear.
Okay, so the question here is a spirit regretting the choice of reincarnation. again, if we remember the case of Sigismundo in the Missionaries of the Light, he was, before the future mother was pregnant, when the reincarnation planning had started, he regretted. He wanted to back out. When André Luiz and Alexander find Sigismundo for the first time, he's having serious doubts that he wants to reincarnate, and he starts bringing excuses that the institution he was taking care in the spiritual world needed him, and it was better to postpone. So you see a case of the spirit trying to back out before the incarnation. But once the process starts, the spirit loses its conscience. In most of the cases, the spirit enters into a state of what's the word? We're going to see that in the next question, actually. In the dormant state, so to say, in a dreamlike state. So the spirit is not cannot reason if it is a spirit of our level. If it's a more evolved spirit, then during the pregnancy, this spirit can continue to live in the spiritual world. But that type of spirit will never regret being reincarnated, because they know the needs and they know the necessities and they know the purpose. Now, when you are born, how many times we heard the phrase, right? I didn't ask to be born. Children, when you start complaining with children, right? How many times you hear that? I didn't ask to be born. Like, you know, it's you're blaming the parents, right? And once you learn more about Spiritism, we can always answer them, yes, you did. You asked to be born. You chose to be born. If they accept or you begged, yes. If they accept or not, understand or not, it's a different story. But you know, can they find life too difficult and regret being reincarnated? How many things we regret in our present life, right? Looking back at our lives, how many things we regret that we have done wrong, right? So, you know, we can regret making the choice to reincarnate, but not in the sense of what they're saying here, in the middle of the pregnancy or when the baby was born. When the baby is born, it's not even conscious to make that choice. So it is something that the answer here from the spirits is yes and no, exactly like that, because we don't remember the choice we made. We don't remember if we participated or not in our reincarnation process. You know, those that are born spiritists from very young age are more likely to have chosen. But for those that came late, like I did, I have no idea if I participated in my reincarnation process. I have no idea if I even understood that it existed. So I may have come in the natural process that brings a lot of us back to reincarnation. Okay?
351.
Yes, second. There it goes.
In the period between conception and birth, does a spirit enjoy full use of its faculties? Yes, depending on the time, because it is only attached to its body and not yet incarnated. From the moment of conception, confusion begins to set in as the spirit is made aware that time has come for it to enter a new existence. This confusion increases until the time of birth. Between these two periods, the spirit's state of mind is like an incarnate spirit during slumber. As birth approaches, its ideas and memory of the past fade away, and it no longer recalls them once it enters the physical body. This memory is gradually restored when it returns to the spiritual world.
Okay. So what happens during pregnancy? And a spirit enjoys full use of its faculties only if it's a much more evolved spirit that can deal with the two situations, with it being developing in the belly of the mother, and the spirit living both worlds at the same time. But for the majority of us here on Earth, at our stage of evolvement, what happens is this confusion that begins in the as we begin the process, and the confusion that increases until the time of birth. So the state of mind is like they compare here as a sleep state, and a state that we are not aware of what's going on around us. And of course, eventually the ideas and memory of the past are going to disappear. And in the majority of the cases, we no longer recall them when we enter in the physical body. Of course, we know that there are children that remember their previous existences. There is a whole work done on this by Dr. Ian Stevenson, right? The famous cases of reincarnation that he studied, mostly in the Eastern civilization, because they're more open to it. But there are some cases here in the US. The case that most famous is the pilot on the Second World War. I forgot his name. What was her name? Carol Bowman wrote a book about it. So in exceptional cases, a child can remember their previous life. Also, up until 7 years old, the child lives half here and half there. So he has experiences in the spiritual world that they see as natural, and parents should see it as natural also. So the invisible friends and things like that, they see spirits, and they talk about spirits they see. We should accept naturally what they are telling us without giving too much importance, but very importantly, without dismissing it. Because if we dismiss, it's just going to cause doubts in their minds that there are no need to be planted there. Then they finish saying the memory is gradually restored when it returns to the spiritual world, meaning when we go back to the spiritual world, we will recover some of our memories of previous existences according to our necessities. Okay?
I'm on a call. Make me call. Number 352. Does the spirit recover all its faculties at birth? No. They are gradually developed with the growth of its organs. This physical life is a new existence, and it must learn how to use its body and senses. The spirit gradually recovers its own ideas, like a person who wakes up only to find him or herself in a different situation than before falling asleep.
Yeah, when we talk about a child, a baby just being born, of course he cannot have all its faculties because the physical body doesn't allow it to express. Now, the spirit can be a very old spirit that lived many incarnations, but the restrictions of the physical body are going to prevent the spirit to fully express its faculties. So we need to learn how to use the new physical body to adapt to the senses, to the limitations of the physical body. Eventually, as we grow up, and again, the spirits talk to us about the teenage years, which is when the spirit fully reintegrates with the physical body, and then all the problems that come with teenage years, right? The spirit, it's now, in possession of all its moral qualities and imperfections, available to them, fully available to them. Of course, before that, you had the moral qualities, a kind child already demonstrating the moral advancement, a rebellious child already demonstrating their challenges that they have as the eternal spirit. But fully, to be fully integrated happens only when we become a teenager. But eventually, we will recover all our faculties again. Not all intellectual faculties, because not all of them we bring with us, but the moral aspects of our eternal spirit are with us, fully with us, when we are reincarnated. Okay?
353. Does a fetus have a soul, considering that the union of the spirit and the body is not fully consummated until birth? The spirit who is to animate it exists somehow outside the fetus. Strictly speaking, it has no soul since the incarnation process is in effect, but the soul is linked to the body that it is about to have.
Yeah, that question is a little bit confusing, right? Because what it's telling us here is that when during the pregnancy, there is no full union between the spirit and the body. And for us to understand that, we have to remember what we just studied here, right? When we talk about more evolved spirits, that during pregnancy, they can experience life in the spiritual world with a certain degree of freedom, right? That means that they are not fully connected with the fetus, right? With the developing fetus. Once it's born, which the connection is complete, then even more evolved spirits cannot have this experience in the spiritual world unless they're sleeping. So it is in that sense that the spirits are trying to tell us here that there is no soul since the incarnation process is in effect. But more important, the soul is linked to the body that it is about to be born. So there is a connection, the connection that if it's broken, the physical body dies, a connection that cannot be replaced, but it's not a complete, full integration between the spirit reincarnating and the physical body until the moment of birth. I think that was the idea here, right?
It's the devices of language, right? How you misuse words, because the word soul over here is being thrown around. By definition, soul is an incarnated spirit. We just learned that to be fully incarnate is at birth, right? It's no longer errant spirit because it's not lucid in the spiritual world anymore. So what's the denomination that you give to it? It's not errant spirit. And it's not still a soul because it's not still by definition.
Yeah.
So isn't this period, that spirit is neither errant, it's between being errant and a soul.
Yeah. And again, there's no words.
There is no terminology, there is no name.
But I think that the best understanding of this is linked to the body that's been formed, but is not fully integrated.
That's right.
Right?
It has to be fully integrated because no, not fully integrated. It has to be fully attached to that body because its parent spirit is responsible for the formation of that body. So it has to be deeply connected to make the process work.
Okay.
354.
Yes.
What is the intrauterine life? It is the life of a plant that vegetates. A child lives an animal life. Human beings possess in them both animal and vegetable life, which is completed at birth by the spiritual life.
Again, it's a complicated answer from the spirits, but we have to think of this as during pregnancy, it is said that we go through all the phases since the beginning, very quickly, since the beginning of our creation as a spiritual principle. We go through all the evolution to form that new physical body, because the new physical body has to have the autonomic functions working, has to have the instincts functioning. So it goes through the plant phase, the animal phase, which brings the instincts, and then it becomes a human being when it's born, when the process is completed. André Luiz describes this process in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, and you can study it in the book, how the process happens. But it's interesting that the spirits told us here in 1857, right? How is the life of a developing fetus when they had no idea how this happened, and the spirits already telling us the very complex answer, right? Life of a plant that vegetates, a child lives an animal life, human beings possesses in them both animal and vegetable life, which we know today that that's the case, right? Because for us to form the physical body, we need to go through all these experiences in a very accelerated way. But for our body to work as it needs, it has to develop this evolutionary process that comes from the time we were spiritual principle, developing, starting to develop in the vegetable kingdom, in the animal kingdom, and coming into the human kingdom. It's not our first incarnation, so we had to go through the process, including the human kingdom already, right? No. Okay.
355. Is there such a thing as a stillborn child, as indicated by science? If so, to what purpose does this take place? This happens often. God allows these births as a trial, either for the parents or for the spirit intended to animate it.
Okay. So here, when we talk about a stillborn child, we talk about a child that had a spirit attached to it, but for some reasons, it died before birth or at birth. The purpose, it's trials, atonements for the parents, for the spirit, as we discussed before. So again, the question asked in 1857, when science only saw the result of a child being born dead, or miscarriage happening with sometimes a not formed fetus or malformed fetus. So that's what the spirits are telling us here. Okay.
356. Are some stillborn children never intended for the incarnation of a spirit? Yes. Some never had a spirit assigned to them. Nothing would have been accomplished in them. In such a case, the child's arrival is simply a trial for the parents. Can a being of this nature come to term? Sometimes, but it does not survive. Does that mean that the child who survives birth has a spirit incarnated in it? What would it be if this were not the case? It would not be a human being.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about this last week, right? For a physical body to being starting developed in the womb of a mother, it needs a spirit connected to it. If there is no spirit connected to it, it will result in a malformation. It will not develop as a child, right? At the time of Kardec, they had no idea how to examine this. They would only see the results of stillborn or miscarriages, which would sometimes with monstrous form. In these cases of the monstrous form are the cases that likely there was no spirit attached to it. Okay, because for a fetus to develop, as Elmo explained last week, it needs the perispirit of a spirit to form it. If it has not, it's not going to form a physical body, it's going to form a mass of matter that is called
Mola e datiforme em português.
Yeah, there is a word in Portuguese. Yeah, datiform mole, right? There is the word that is used. Yeah, in English. Again, a child who survives birth, of course, there is a spirit connected to it. If a child is born and die one day later, he has a spirit connected to it for sure. Because and even if a child is born dead, but it is the form of a child, he had a spirit connected to it. Okay? Of course, at the time of Kardec, they have less understanding of the process. But today, with the advancements of science, we know that there are the cases that there is no spirit attached. It will never form a physical body, a viable physical body, the way we understand it. Okay?
357.
So,
Okay. We got
yeah, let me just ask you. So the case is the possibility of connected to the fetus or assigned to the fetus.
sorry, go again?
Is it that then there are two possibilities? One is connected to the baby, to back, or to the fetus, or assignment to the fetus, because that's what the word you use, assigned.
Yeah, it's the same, right? If there is a spirit connected, there is a spirit assigned to a new physical body that is started being formed, and it will connect at the moment of conception. So,
Because the word assigned threw me off. That's the whole thing.
yeah, but if you think of the case of Sigismundo, he was assigned to be born to the parents, but there was no pregnancy yet, so there was no connection. The connection happens in the conception, right? But the spirit may be assigned to a physical body that is not yet started to be formed.
Okay. Assignment is in the planning stages.
Yes, in planned stages, yes. Yes. Okay, you know what? Let's leave abortion for next week, because there are 4 questions that'll talk about abortion. We have 8 minutes left, and I don't think it's worth.
And that's a good topic. That's a great topic.
I don't think it's worth discussing it.
No.
We're not going to finish in 8 minutes. We're going to break it and start again. So it's better if we stop here and start next week. Okay, when we're going to talk about abortion, which is always a very difficult, delicate subject, and nowadays very controversial here in this country. So let's leave it for next week. Okay.
Is it only in this country, or is it also in other countries too? That I don't know.
It's in other countries too, right?
Okay.
There are many countries where abortion is controversial. There are countries that have laws that allow abortion. There is not much discussion there, only religious discussions, not legal discussions. But there are many countries where there are legal discussions and moral discussions and things like that. Yeah. So this Saturday, which is the last Saturday that of this year that they are going to have the United States Spiritist Federation talk for this year, there is going to be a pre-recorded session called U.S. Spiritist Movement in Action. And because I was part of it, we talk about Spiritist literature, Enlightenment 2 for the Immortal Spirit. So it's a discussion that I moderated with Jussara, with Andrea Marshall Neto from Leal Publisher and Marcelo Neto from FEV Publisher. We talked about the history of the translations here in the US, the history of how the books were first published, and discussed the importance of the books in English. So it was a very good conversation we had. It's worth watching. So it's this Saturday at 11 a.m. It's called Spiritist Literature, Enlightenment 2 for the Immortal Spirit. Okay? This Sunday, it's the third Sunday of the month, we are going to study the Mediums book. Okay? Just as a heads up, SGNY will be closed from Monday, December 23rd to January 1st. So our last meeting is on Sunday, December 22nd. We will have a Q&A session, and we will restart on January 2nd, which is a Thursday, studying the Spirit's book here, our study. Okay? Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, thank you very much, John. Thank you also, Elmo, and thank you, Philip, for reading, and thanks everybody for participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together for our studies of the Spirit's book, Book 2, Chapter 7, The Union of the Body and Soul. The union of the body and soul begins at the moment of conception and is only completed at birth. No other spirit can enter a body which has already been assigned. Premature death of a child may be due to imperfections of matter. Miscarriages may be a trial for the parents, as well as a stillborn birth. During pregnancy, the spirit is usually in a sleep state, and the body and the perispirit develops. The physical life will gradually recover its faculties, but not immediately upon birth. The soul is linked to the body at birth and is no longer called an errant spirit. It has to go through the mineral, vegetable, and animal phases of development as part of an evolutionary process. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for all those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.